All right. Good morning, all. Welcome to Tek Solutions. I hope you all can listen to me. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, Kalyan.
Thanks. Um, let's begin the session. Let me share my screen. So this session is all about. One second. Dismiss. Yes. This session is all about what we offer through the course, what all the topics that we discuss, and how well you can perform in your uh, day-to-day activities, or like if you want to get a opportunity in on career upgrade, or if you want to start your career. So this is all one-stop solution where you can actually learn from. Uh, I'll tell about myself at the end, but today my main focus will be mainly on this particular course, the sessions that we are going to do, the real-time projects, and what all things that can help you to get into a job where you can actually perform your daily runs, right? So let's begin the session. So through this course we are going to I hope you all can see my screen. I will just increase a bit more. So
Yes.
thanks. So initially we will start with course overview, like what all the things that we are going to see in this particular course. We'll see all the tools. I'm going to show you all the tools that we are going to do, and what is the purpose of that tool, and why it is important in the market right now, or how many how many big organizations have been using it throughout my experience. I'll be telling you, walking you through all the tools that we are going to discuss in the session. So that's the first topic. Coming to the agile methodologies. So basically agile has two things. One is scrum model and kanban model. So in DevOps we either use scrum or kanban. Sometimes we use both. So I have been working on both of these things quite some time. So I'll be sharing my experiences, and I'll be telling you how it is going to work on daily basis. So the Jira tickets, how do we get the Jira tickets, from which all the teams we get the Jira tickets, and then how do you start your work, how do you analyze the ticket. So all these things we will get, and then we will see what is scrum model basically, and what is kanban, and how it exactly fits into DevSecOps model, right? So that is about the second session. We are going to take two sessions under that, under agile methodologies. So I'm going to show you one theoretical and one practical by creating a Jira ticket, and by actually showing you the proper way how it does. So with scrum and kanban both. So we'll be having a sprint, we'll be having epic stories, all those things we are going to discuss in agile methodologies, right? In the second thing, so before going to Linux, or before even starting agile methodologies, I would have in the first session itself, or maybe another session I'll take. So I see DevOps have been evolving over a period of time. So when I started in 2016 or 2015 around ending, so DevOps was a very traditional, like it was very Jenkins oriented, Jenkins, CI/CDs, Bash scripting, and automations. Automations was not that big, but it was more of the CI/CD model, continuous integration and continuous delivery type model. So that is where initially it was, but later on it has been evolved. So it has got evolved into cloud, people asking infrastructure as a code. People started working on cloud infrastructure, AWS infrastructure, or any cloud infrastructure. Now it has been evolved to SRE, site reliability engineering, where we take care of infrastructure monitoring and maintaining the entire environments. And then when it comes to the DevOps, we have a traditional DevOps where we build and releases. Some people work on build and releases, some people work on infrastructure provisioning. So some people worked on combination of both. Some dedicatedly work on SRE support type. So we have seen all together, but based on the job description, or based on any criteria, we have to segregate whether it is SRE or what kind of role is it. Is 30% DevOps, 70% SRE, like that. So we are going to discuss about job descriptions, or the roles and responsibilities of multiple DevOps models. Like there are multiple roles that a DevOps engineer perform based on the names: senior DevOps engineer, a site reliability engineer, cloud ops engineer. So we have lot of things there. I'm going to discuss. I'm going to take each one of that, and I'm going to tell you what this particular role does in real time. So that will be one session about that. And then later on, post completing agile methodologies, I'll start Linux. So basically, Linux is a heart of DevOps. So anything that you do, right, in any IT systems, until unless it is a .NET projects, 90% of the projects will be running on Linux. So it could be Red Hat, it could be Ubuntu, it could be CentOS, it could be any other Linux flavor, but ultimate goal is to use Linux. So you don't need to master all. Second, you don't need to master everything. Sorry, I got a call. So you don't need to master everything. So you can master any one Linux flavor, which is in our scenario we go with the Red Hat in all the sessions. 100% we'll take Red Hat. So let's master one instead of learning small bits and pieces of all the Linux flavors. We will learn one tool and we will tell only one tool. One second, someone wanted mate. Okay, thanks for joining. So instead of learning all the Linux flavors, let's target one and we'll finish one. So in our scenario, we'll go with Red Hat Linux, right? So that's the Linux. That's the about Linux. So we'll see all the file systems, networking, monitoring. How do we do the backup jobs? All these things we are going to see apart from the very basic things. So we'll go in deep into the Linux. So because see, be it cloud, be it on premises, you are going to work on Linux. It's at the end of the day, it is just a server and it will be running a operating system. On top of it, you will be running applications, and your job is to maintain that application, upgrade that application, maintain the infrastructure, maintain the application. So that's the end goal. So we are going to see Linux everywhere. So we are going to target Linux most of the times. So that's the Linux. Coming to the traditional development model. So any developer, right, so writes the code, so to any application, be it phone pay, be it Google Pay, whatever, you take any application, so it should be written in some language: Java, Spring Boot, Node.js, .NET, Python, any language, doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, you have to store your code somewhere, right? So everyone's there won't be any single developer or single contributor. If you are working on a big project, there will be multiple contributors, multiple developers. So they have to write the code and store it in one particular place. So that place is called GitHub. So in our scenario, there are multiple other tools like Bitbucket. We have GitLab, Perforce, like that. So all the big chipset based companies like MediaTek, Nvidia, Qualcomm, Samsung, all these company uses Perforce. So other regular companies, if your project is running on Node.js, Spring Boot, Java, all those stuff, then most of the times it is GitHub or GitLab, anything. So it doesn't matter. Everything at the end of the day, UI might changes, but in the backend it works in the same way. So in GitHub we are going to see basics, how to update the changes, create the branches, branching strategies, very important. So we are going to talk about branching strategies, which is asked in the interviews. So we'll target this basically, and I'll show you how it exactly flows. So based on this entire branching strategies, our DevOps pipeline, infrastructure pipeline, deployment pipeline will operate. So this is very important. Like how Linux is important, branching strategies exactly plays same role in managing the entire project. Okay, so we are going to see, and GitHub CI/CD is something that is very advanced topic. So we are going to see that with very small basic application. So instead of going with Jenkins as a CI/CD tool, people started using GitHub CI/CD for latest upcoming microservice based projects. We are going to discuss that scenario as well. So far, any questions? Do you have any questions? Let me know. I'll stop. I'll take a break. If you have any queries, do let me know. I'll be happy to answer You can break me whenever you want. I'll just answer all your queries. If not, I'll proceed it. Any questions? Mm, mm, mm. This. Okay, I take that as a no. I'll just. What is it again? Anyone asking any question?
Yeah. Uh,
Yes, Narendra.
like, is it possible to record the session like for the reference?
Yeah, I am recording the session. I will be
Okay, sir.
sharing it in the official YouTube channel. Um, so Chimera Tech Solutions. Also, there is a blog spot. We are having a blog spot. We do have some more blogs on different name, but we are going to shift it into Chimera. So, I'll talk about previous things at the end. But for now, let me complete the course, and then I'll tell you where and all you can get these things. Um,
Okay.
okay. Uh,
Fine.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a note.
Yep.
Uh,
Please.
do we have practice sessions for each one, or just like saying only content or the?
Mm, no, it is all practical. You don't see any theoretical. You might see
Okay.
PPTs just to give you points, high level points, but it is all practical. You'll be seeing every session that you from me on the machine running on some cloud. So basically, I choose AWS because AWS is market leader and lot of openings we have on AWS. So every session will be a practical session, and I am targeting only practical session most of the times. It's not something that is on a high level. You don't see anything on air. I'll be keeping it very simple and very practical. You will be seeing everything through Jenkins or through any Linux machine. Everything it is practical, just to give what topic we are discussing and what type of content we are discussing. For that reason, see, I'm not a big PPT guy. I worked on core technical thing. I don't want this documentation stuff. But out of my previous experience, I have dealt previous batches online. So to make sure that every person is understanding, so I created that PPT or PDFs for understanding purposes. But it is all practical. So there is no point of, I myself did not accept these theoretical things. So I came like you guys when I started. So I know pain points. So it is all practical things for sure.
Yeah, thank you. It's clear now.
Thanks. Uh, okay, if you don't have any questions, I'll proceed further, and then we'll at the end I'll give you some more details. Okay, so Maven, we are going to take Maven as a, so our project mainly depends on Java and Spring Boot applications. Java is for a three-tier architecture, and Spring Boot for microservice based architecture. So I'm going to talk about two projects. So we will see. I'll talk about projects little later. The reason why I'm telling the programming language is to build this code. Okay, you cannot give code. See, you are using applications, right? Phone Pay, Google Pay, whatever application. If those guys give code, how will you run it? How will you use it? That is where Maven comes into picture, where it is going to take the code, it is going to run the code, build the code, run the code, and it will give you a binary executable where you can double click and run it, like how you have VLC player or any software that you do on Windows. Double click, next. So that is how you should get as a user. So you don't need what is written in the background. So to create such type of uh, binaries, we use Maven for Java applications. We do have Ant, we do have Gradle and all, but Maven is very advanced. Maven is very simple, and many organizations, big tech leaders use this. So I'm going with Maven. I have a lot of experience in Maven, so I deal with Maven nicely. So we'll see what are the things that we can do, and what are the interview based questions, what are the real time things that you have to keep a note, right? We have multi module projects, we have a lot of things there. So that's about Maven. So SonarQube, we go with SonarQube for static code analysis, unit test coverage. So what does SonarQube does is, so developers write the code, pushes into GitHub. Now Maven builds the code. During building process, SonarQube also comes into picture. what it does is it is going to during Maven. So this Maven and SonarCube runs in combination of together. So what happens is SonarCube will do the code analysis. So static code analysis. It will read each line written by the developer, and based on the rules that we set on the SonarCube, it is going to give code duplications, unit test coverage, a lot of things. It is going to see code quality check, okay, whether code is written at standard best practices or not. So that is where SonarCube comes into picture. Under DevSecOps, this is one security application where we check the code level. We will do it, right? So that is where SonarCube comes into picture. And we have Nexus. So Nexus is where we store artifacts. So like I said, you get the executable or binary once building it, so you need to store it somewhere, right? You can deploy it into the server, but what if production goes down or some application goes down and you want to roll back to the previous version? So you have to store those things into a particular location. So that is where we use SonarCube, Nexus, Sonar-type Nexus. It is Sonar-type Nexus. So if you see, it is Sonar-type Nexus. So this is a repository manager, this one. So we can use JFrog as well as an alternative, but I am going with Nexus. It's bit easy. We can use Nexus for storing the artifacts as well as dependency management. So we will see what dependency management and where it is being used. Okay, so that's about Nexus. And Jenkins, this is the master of DevOps, right? Jenkins CI/CD tool. So we are going to discuss a lot of things there. Jenkins installation. So above all, including installations, we will get it. So here Jenkins installation process. How do we integrate all the above tools and below tools with Jenkins, and how do we perform? So we have three different pipelines. One is CI/CD project, then we have infrastructure pipeline, and we have deployment pipeline. So we will go through each of these projects one by one, and I have articulated all the steps, what all things that we do on these things. We are going to see how we are going to set up on branching strategies. Like I said, in GitHub we have branching strategies where this is going to control entire pipeline, okay, based on the branches that we give. So if it is a, like, let's say if it is a release branch, build type will be release, and we are going to release a artifact. So something like that. You don't need to break your head right now, but I'm going to explain you and decentralize everything to ground level so that you can understand each and every point of this. Okay, so that is where Jenkins comes into picture. It is a CI/CD tool. We are going to see pipelines, we are going to see freestyle jobs, we are going to see declarative scripting, we are going to see shared libraries, which is very advanced topic, which is very, very important, and it's very easy. You don't need to know the code, how to write the code and all. It is very simple. I am myself is not big coder, so that is why I choose DevOps, right? So that's about Jenkins. So coming to Docker, Docker is a container management tool or a container runtime tool. So basically we have to see what is the difference between virtual machine and Docker. So we will see why it is being used widely right now, why it is Kubernetes is buzzing, why does Docker come into picture, where does it comes into picture. We are going to see Docker installation steps, everything we are going to see, and we are going to write a Docker file, build a Docker file, create an image out of it, and then do the best practices that industry asks for, right, with the Docker. Okay, so we are going to see registries, networks, all the basic stuff. So Docker we use only for images, so I'll stick on to more of images rather than concentrating on different things. But to understand Kubernetes we need volumes and networks, so I'll be dealing about these two as well. Okay, so that's for good 4 sessions we are going to talk, and then we are going to cover most of the topics on Docker, right? This is where cloud coming into picture, AWS cloud. We are going to talk about AWS cloud. Okay, so I forgot to add one more tool. I'll update that in a while. So what does that tool does is I have it here. Okay, I have it here, Snyk tool. Okay, we have snick tool. So basically snick or trivi. So trivi, we have trivi. So either one of these, snick, we so basically I'm using both, so I'm going to talk about both on one sessions. So this is for scanning the tool. Okay, so security scanning, so that is where DevSecOps comes into picture. The main motto of DevSecOps is security comes into picture. SonarCube is one security tool where it does code scannings and all. We have check marks. I will see if you guys can understand check marks, then I'll talk about it, or else we can skip. That is not very mandatory topic, but I'll give a glimpse of what check marks does, how to do check mark scanning. That is an artifact scanning tool. So here we do code scanning. Once we build the code, we get the artifact, right? With the maven, we get the binary. Using that, we are going to scan that for any vulnerabilities. Okay, so we are going to see that as well. And then we have snick for Docker image scanning. So we do image scanning for using snick. Okay, so we are going to check that as well. And coming to AWS cloud, so AWS is used for infrastructure provisioning. So we have core infrastructure tools. AWS by itself has 300 plus services. You don't need to master everything, or you don't need to learn everything. So we have certain things that we have to learn as a DevOps engineer to maintain the infrastructure. We are going to target only those things, right? We have IAM setup, we have VPC, we have all the network components, storage services, compute services, databases. Second, okay. Uh, we have databases. We are going to discuss all those related stuff, and then Lambda services as well. So we are going to see that as well, by invoking one step function, and we are going to see some send notification kind of thing. We are going to do work on that. Okay, so that's about infrastructure. So the above is all DevOps related. The below AWS, it's all infrastructure SRE related. So we are going to cover both the things, right? So AWS cloud, I'm going to talk about good 15 sessions for all the services which you need to cover as a DevOps engineer, or have a strong basic fundamentals, because any interview if you go, they'll ask fundamentals very strongly, they'll ask. So I'm going to tell you each and everything about this AWS cloud. Okay, so that's about AWS cloud. And then we have Terraform. So using it, so we are using AWS, but you cannot launch everything through UI, because it is not practical and it's not good practice to go with UI console on Chrome or any browser. So for that is where infrastructure as a code comes into picture, Terraform. So in Terraform we are going to see very interesting topics you will get here. So you can launch your virtual machines, you can launch your networking components, databases, everything through the code. And Terraform is very smart tool. Whatever you write, it can use it, and it can create those infrastructure for you. How it works, how does it connect to AWS, how does it maintains the infrastructure on multiple environments, how do you create infrastructure, how do you destroy infrastructure, all those things we are going to see. Trust me, you don't need to be a developer for this. Everything you will get it from the official Terraform HashiCorp documentation, or you will get it from ChatGPT, very simple. Okay, so you don't need to break your head, you don't need to you have Perplexity, you have many other GPT tools where you can use it and then work on it. So I did not write everything on my own. I have written so many project scripts by myself, but I have never been master of everything. But I have dealt these projects very good, and I have got some good awards for those things. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I have written, and I'm going to show you practically how it can be written, and the interview basis, what all the loops, the for loops, if loops, for conditions, conditional statements. We are going to see very basic thing for your understanding, and so that we can apply it in the real time project as well. Okay, so that's about Terraform. So to provision infrastructure, we use Terraform. Post provisioning, we have to install some let's say I've launched one virtual machine using Terraform on AWS. After launching, I want to install some Tomcat, Java, Jenkins, like that. So to do that, I need one configuration management tool. Terraform has very basic set of configuration stuff you can do it, but when you okay, does anyone have any questions? I got some sound. I assume I'll after this I'll give a break. You can, if you have any questions, then we can discuss. So Ansible configuration management tool. Once you launch the infrastructure, right? So let's say virtual machine, you want to perform some complex work tasks or complex workflows. So to do that, you go for Ansible. So it's not plain Ansible. First, I'll make you understand what Ansible is, and we'll go with Ansible Galaxy roles, where Ansible Galaxy roles will perform deployment on EC2 machines, right? We are going to see that as well. So all these things I have had, and then we are going to see a simple project of deploying an application on EC2 machine, maybe on 3-tier architecture. Okay, so that's the Ansible stuff. And we have Kubernetes, very buzzing now in all the market. Every developer needs it, every DevOps engineer needs it, everyone needs this Kubernetes like a hot cake right now. So we'll go with Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is very important. We are going to manage the containers through Kubernetes, container management tool or container orchestration tool, we call it as. When you have high when you have huge volumes of containers to manage, then we'll go with Kubernetes. So we are going to see architecture, basic terminologies, deployments, replica sets, stateful sets, service discoveries, networks, ingress, all these things we are going to see, and we are going to deploy an application on that using Helm charts, and we are going to see we are going to deploy it, and we are going to access that application on running on EKS or any Kubernetes cluster. We are going to set up those things as well. Okay, so that is about Kubernetes. Argo CD is very advanced topic. If you guys, after completing this, if you guys are very interested in learning about advanced topic, I'll take Argo CD. Definitely, it's not about your choice. I'll definitely deal Argo CD, but it is very interesting and advanced. See, if you learn till here, you can easily understand Argo CD. So it is simple tool that runs on the Kubernetes cluster and runs as a service, and it is going to deploy your applications without any Ansible or without any Helm charts, without any manual intervention. Continuous deployment can happen through Argo CD. It can happen through Ansible, it can happen through Helm charts and all, but Argo CD has, you need to put less efforts for Argo CD. You don't need to write big scripts. Argo CD will take care of all those things. Okay, I'll tell you Argo CD architecture and how we're going to deploy applications using Argo CD. Okay, that's Argo CD thing. And at the end, we have observability stack. This observability stacks helps us to monitor our infrastructure and applications both. So entire tools. So we have two types of infrastructure. One is DevOps infrastructure, where we run SonarQube, Nexus, Jenkins, and all other servers. We run Jira server. We have lot of tools. We run all those tools on particular servers. So we have to maintain two infrastructure. One is DevOps infrastructure, and the other one is AWS infrastructure for environments. Okay, to deploy applications, staging, development, production, like that. So we are going to see how we monitor all those things. Okay, so basically I'll set up on Prometheus and Grafana, and I'll explain you architecture, and I'll explain you how to connect to those machines, and how does you can see everything graphical manner on Grafana. Okay, so that's about observability stack. We are going to deal observability stack nice and clean. Okay, we have log monitoring as well, ELK, but I'll see if I can. It is not a mandatory topic. I'll take one weekend session for that if you guys are interested, but I did not keep that in our menu because it's not very demanding one. If you have it, it's good, but it is not a demanding one. Prometheus and Grafana should be good enough for observability stack, for alert monitoring, for sending the notifications if something goes down. All those setup we will do it through observability stack. Okay, so that's about observability stack. And coming to real-time projects, this is where you guys should keep an eye. Okay, so let's roll over this one. Okay, so real-time project, what do we do? So in real-time project we are going to cover this entire thing. Okay, so like I said, there are three things. One is CI/CD pipeline, DevOps pipeline. The build pipeline. We call it as build pipeline. So be very specific with the terminology. The way you communicate in the interviews in the real-time world, if you communicate in the technical way, build pipeline, infra pipeline, deployment pipeline, these are fancy words where very less people will talk about. Even though they are experienced, they won't be talking this terminology in interviews or in real time. So I would encourage you guys to talk in a interesting manner. So let's say if I say build pipeline, infra pipeline, deployment pipeline, those who know very basics about the software, the life cycle, they'll get interested. See, how does that work? How does deployment work? How does this? So make it interesting. So this is where I am very much focused on these particular things. So I'll be telling you when and where it is required. You just keep a note of all those things, right? So I am going to take till right from so developer pushes his code. So Jira I'm going to explain you in the upcoming sessions. So once the developer pushes his code here, so from here it is our task to completely do that and send a notification to Slack. Okay, so we are going to set up this entire thing, and we can get some, one second. So we will integrate all those things, and we are going to see something like this: notifications whenever something fails or whenever something passes. We are going to see red, green, unstable will get yellow color, all those stuff. Okay, so we are going to set up CI/CD pipeline first thing, build pipeline, which we call it as, till Docker where we publish images. Okay, so if you see here, so till publishing image, pushing image to ECR, till here we are going to cover till here. First one, this is in build pipeline. Then comes infra pipeline. So this whole environments we are going to launch through Terraform and Jenkins, and we use Groovy pipeline, we use Ansible for configuration management. Okay, so that's the second part, which is infra pipeline. Third part will be deployments. There will be two deployments. One is EC2 deployment, the other one is EKS deployment. I'm going to show you both the things real time. Okay, so all these things will be done, and we are going to monitor this entire thing. Okay, entire infrastructure of this environments and AWS infrastructure. The DevOps infrastructure. Both we are going to see. Okay, so coming to here, that is what I said here. Okay, we are going to see CI/CD pipeline. We do containerize Docker. We do containerize application. How to containerize an application? We are going to see that. And this is one topic that comes in AWS S3 as a storage service. Okay, as a storage service, we can host one static web hosting. This is not very demanding one, but just to understand how you can host an application from the S3 bucket, I'm going to show you that perspective. And we are going to deploy applications on EC2, which is the deployment pipeline, provisioning infrastructure for a DevOps infra. Like I said, we are going to launch an infrastructure, right? We are going to have these all tools. So how we can do so, like using Terraform, first we will launch the infrastructure, and on top of it we are going to run Jenkins, Maven, SonarQube, Nexus, all these together. Okay, that will be one project. Okay, we are going to do this project just for this. You don't need to put it in like in uh, resume, but for understanding purposes I kept it just to see how it works on all for you guys, to make sure that it's all good. So I have kept this. And you have to keep this 3-tier architecture in AWS with infrastructure. So we are going to launch 3-tier architecture, like front end, back end, and database. So to run these things we need infrastructure, so on AWS. So we are going to write the scripts, we are going to see everything. So I'll explain you the scripts, what and all it does. You can go through that, and I'll show you practically by running it, by creating a pipeline, and approving whenever based on the branching strategies. Whenever it is a dev branch, it should do only plan. Whenever we are putting it in master branch, then only it should apply, something like that. Okay, we are going to see that process as well in 3-tier architecture. We have Argo CD. Like I said, we are going to have a session on deploying this. I have included a proper application setup, build pipeline, and using Argo CD we are going to deploy. This comes under deployment pipeline. And we have OBS stack monitoring, this one. So this is one. So for all those above infra, we are going to take we are going to monitor that. We are going to set up the monitoring stuff. Okay, and we have real-time automation scenarios. This is a special topic which, out of my experience, what I have written, I am going to share you those scripts by explanation, by running it, and then I am going to show you both disaster recovery setups, the automations, automating the dependencies to Nexus through Python. So I have written a couple of automations. I am going to share you those scripts, and so that in interviews you can help yourself, and to understand in these things also, you will get to know how it works on all. Okay, that is about real-time automation scenarios. And not one session, maybe on weekends, if you guys come come offline, one-to-one, or online also, I'll definitely give all the questions for each of these topics. Okay, all the questions for each of these topics on real-time basis. So I'm going to provide you all these interview related questions. Okay, so this is for interview questions and placement guidance and resume preparation. I am not going to encourage, or I'm not going to tell you to put anything from the other resumes or open source resumes. Whatever we have done in our entire course, we are going to keep only those points, and we are going to talk only those points in the interviews. Nothing else, nothing more. We are going to mainly focus on these things. Okay, so that's see, my entire motto of this complete course is, you have to crack your interview. You don't need to take help from others and all. So that is my first goal. I want you guys to get prepared in such a way that you can only clear this technical stuff. You don't need a special thing. It is very, very simple thing. If I can do it, you can also do it, trust me. So that's how easy it is, if you can understand the flow of it. So you need to understand the flow, and we have to discuss the technical stuff, and you are good with this. Okay, so that's where you have to prepare your resume. You have to read each point that you have written, and those points come from above things, whatever we have done. So I'm going to take one good session for putting those projects on all, and interview tips. We are going to take mock interviews offline. Come to the Marthali bridge. We have an space here. You guys can come and sit. You can practice it. So give me 2 days. We are going to set up Wi-Fi tables and all. So you can come over here and you can start doing it. I will be available on most of the weekdays and weekends, except in weekdays maybe 2 days I'll be not fully available. I'll be available from 3 o'clock from morning session. After completing the session, I have to go and then come back from my office, and I'll be available all the time in the space in the training center. And you can come over here, and you can always have my time. You can ask me any questions, you can ask me any doubts. right? So that's about it.